Hi, I'm Sam from Something Sound, and today we're going to look at working with sound design. So, what does a sound designer do? A sound designer is primarily concerned with creating Foley and sound effects. Although some of them do music, you may have a composer for this. Let's start by looking at Foley. Foley includes footsteps, props, so that could be anything that's picked up and put down, and cloth, for example, a character's clothing. There's a video here that can explain it a lot better than I can.
I was beginning to think you've forgotten about me.
Forgotten you? Why, Doris, you've become very important to me. Very important. How's your drink?
It's getting awfully warm in here. I feel kind of funny.
Watch your step, Doris.
Bill, you put something in my drink, didn't you? Bill.
I'm now going to show you two videos of the same scene done with different sound. This is to illustrate that you can use Foley in unusual ways. It doesn't have to be literal. You can express what characters are feeling through your choice of sound. In this first clip you can hear that the birds are singing, denoting serenity, and everything's okay. And the bed sheets sound quite plush. And this is to give the impression that although these two seem to be having an argument, it's not that serious. And here's the same clip again, but this time the bedsheets sound more scratchy. There's a bass rumble going throughout, and you can hear traffic noise outside. And through this use of sound, the couple's argument seems to be a bit more serious. To recap, Foley includes footsteps, props and cloth, and the ways that you choose to use these sounds can affect the meaning of what's happening on screen. Next up, let's have a look at sound effects. Sound effects can be broken down into three main areas. First of all, hard sound effects, and they will be any sound that appears on screen, such as cars driving past or weapons firing. Next is ambience, and that could be woodland or desert. It's a general background noise that can be heard in a scene. And lastly, sound design sound effects, and they're sounds that don't appear in nature or are dangerous or impossible to record. So it could be things like spaceships, but also in nature documentaries where there's insects crawling around. That'll generally be somebody doing something strange with some fruit or veg. Here's a short video showing some sound effects I made for a spaceship. This sound was made by annoying a cat and making it go meow, and then slowing down that sound, stretching it out and reversing it. I then added some layers of bass and white noise to it. The sounds in this clip were created by some students during a workshop I ran, where they decided to make the sound for this zombie eating by emptying a can of tomatoes into a bowl and squishing them round in the hand. They also had some rubber gloves in there, and then they also added zombie groans and moans. This last clip is from David Lynch's Eraserhead. The suckling dogs in this clip make the viewer feel uncomfortable, and there's also, you can hear the ambience of steam and winds, things that you wouldn't really think would fit within the scene. But by using these sounds, the sound designer Alan Splett was able to create a feeling of unease and help the audience to sympathise with the main character, who's obviously in a very awkward situation.
Hello there.
Hello. I'm very pleased to meet you.
Sit down. Henry, isn't it?
Yes.
To recap, sound effects cover hard sound effects, things that appear on screen, ambience, the general background noise, and sound design, things like spaceships or zombies eating. And lastly, music. We'll have a look at motifs and how they can be used. Which bits of the action do you want to hit with music? what is the tempo of the piece, and has the film been made to a specific tempo, and how you can use music to shift the viewer's perspective. A motif is a character's theme tune. In this clip, we first see Darth Vader's theme tune played normally, and then later on when he's dying, you hear the theme tune again, but it's played on different instruments. It's much softer and more delicate, which helps the audience sympathise with Darth Vader despite all the bad things he's done. A motif could also be used to show that a character is thinking about something. So if we saw Luke Skywalker looking off into the distance and you heard in the background Darth Vader's theme tune, you'd know that he was thinking about him.
Lord Vader, this is an unexpected pleasure. We're honored by your presence.
Deciding which bits of the action to hit with music can be a difficult choice. If you decide to hit every bit of action, this is called Mickey Mousing, which is illustrated in this video. The other end of the scale will be deciding to hit none of the action happening on screen. This next video is a Spike Jonze film which I rescored. I chose to give every character their own motif and chose which instruments to use for each character to try and show what that character is like. You can also hear a lot of Mickey Mousing, such as when the skeleton's head rolls on the floor. This is an animation that I scored for the Royal Armouries Museum. The animator created the film whilst working to a click. Because he did this, I was easily able to put music over the top of it without worrying about the tempo of the piece.
Buried deep beneath the Earth's crust, a great journey is about to begin. A journey from the very birth of a helmet, like no other. The tunnel is vast and long. Iron ore is pushed through the mine shaft, until finally its destination is reached. Iron ore and charcoal is added to the blast furnace, melting together and left to cool, forming wrought iron. It is then taken into the skilled hands of the smith, who begins the long task of shaping the iron. Plunging the iron back into the flames, it collapses, creating blisters of newly formed steel. Every strike of the hammer is precise, every blow a step closer to perfection. With the onset of the gunpowder revolution in the early 16th century, armor became designed more for looks rather than holding any practical use on the battlefield, and this helmet is no exception. The fine details of the faceplate are inspired by masquerade balls, which were popular amongst the nobility and peasantry of the time. Nobody knows who this helmet was crafted for, but it is likely to have been given to a knight wearing it with pride and honor. He rides against his opponent, his heart filled with the provenance of victory.
The choice of music is obviously very important. The following two clips illustrate that the choice of music can completely change the meaning of the scene. Here again we can see how the choice of music can completely change the viewer's perspective of what's unfolding on screen. I rescored this scene from Let the Right One In to show the viewer that the boy is not actually in trouble, he is going to be saved. And also at the beginning you hear Aha playing on the radio, which places the film in its time setting, which is the 80s.
Jag är bara en liten rispa. Fixar du inte så stick ut ena ögat på dig. Ett öga för ett öra, va? Okej?
Men det går ju inte.
Det är ditt problem. Tre minuter. Passa på att andas. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
you wanna love, you wanna cry, you cross your heart and hope to die. Till it's over. And then shh, shh, it's nice and quiet. Shh, shh, but soon again. Shh, shh, starts another big riot. You blow a fuse, sing boom, the devil cuts loose, sing boom, so what's the use? Wow!
To recap the music section then, do you want your characters to have motifs? Which bits of the on-screen action do you want to hit with music? Has this already been created to a tempo? And how do you want to use music to help the viewer interpret the scene? So what a sound designer does is Foley, sound effects and possibly music. I hope you found this video useful. If you haven't already turned off, I'm going to finish with a couple of animations that I've worked on recently.